Yesterday was a good day for the Seahawks and the 12s. Kam Chancellor ended his holdout and returned to his team. Chancellor will join the Legion of Boom in the secondary on Sunday when Jimmy Clausen and the Bears come to town. Here's Kam.
So I'm just happy to be back. Just happy to be back playing football. Happy to be back with the organization, with my team, with my teammates, my coaches. You know, they were highly missed. You know, it was hard to watch those games. You know, I'm just ready to play football now. You know, watching those losses, you know, it hurt me. Just being a leader that I am. So, you know, I think the time is now to, you know, come back and put all business to the side and address it after the season. You know, just get back to work.
The time is now, Skip. What did Kam gain from this holdout?
Stephen A. Smith, I again want to congratulate you on breaking this story near the top of our show yesterday. I know you're tight with Kam. I respect and appreciate that. I said immediately, and I sort of got hit with this right out of the box as we opened the show yesterday, it struck me as noble and impressive that Kam swallowed his considerable pride, listened, as you pointed out, to Ray Lewis, the great Ray Lewis, and said, I got to get back and help my football brothers in that locker room. Love all that. Then last night, after you and I talked, I began to think about, okay, so what's the upshot of all this? What purpose did this serve? What did Kam ultimately gain from all this? What did he earn from all this? And the answer is absolutely nothing. All that he accomplished was helping his brothers in that locker room dig an 0-2 hole for themselves, right? I mean, if he's there, I think they win the first game at St. Louis. I don't know about the game at the Bad Man at Lambeau Field, but maybe they win that one too with Kam. I don't know. But he lost 2 game checks. It's about $500,000. Now, I don't know, maybe Seattle quietly will make good on those 2 checks. I don't know that. But maybe not. I think they dug in, did Seattle management. We've talked a lot about that. So the quarterback of the defense, the guy who runs the defense, what was his game plan through all this off the field? What was the goal here? Because whatever it was did not get accomplished. Seattle was willing to negotiate with him all along because they had had discussions. I don't know how fruitful those discussions were. You don't think very, and they tended to alienate him pride-wise by what they told him to his face. Both the GM, Schneider, and obviously Pete Carroll was on board with Schneider here. So there's bad blood that got dealt on both sides through this. Kam's not happy about it. He has no leverage left. So once you go down that road, for me, you got to keep going down that road until you win. Because I'm going to use this example one last time. The Emmitt Smith that I went through as I was covering the Cowboys. Super Bowl champs, 92, going to 93 football season. And Emmitt held out for 2 games and came back and won league MVP and then Super Bowl MVP after his team fell to 0-2. Emmitt Smith got his money. He quote-unquote won, even though I still thought Jerry took him a little bit to the cleaners, but he still got something that he was holding out for. So Emmitt felt really good about it. They all felt great. That was quite a triumphant, joyful celebration that they had in Seattle, and that's great by me. But in the end, what purpose did it serve? Nothing but 0-2 that I can see. Help me out here.
Well, I'm going to help you out. First of all, Kam Chancellor to me is similar to a Kobe Bryant, a Dwayne Wade, you know, people like that. To a degree, Shaquille O'Neal, to Michael Jordans, to the Charles Barkleys, Kenny Smiths. I mention names like that, Skip Bayless, because those are individuals that I know personally, that I have a strong level of affection for, simply because I respect them as men.
Yep.
Intent matters. Yes, Kam Chancellor wanted to get his money, but he also felt disrespected.
I get it.
No one's trying to knock John Schneider this way, because I don't know the man. Never met him, never talked to him. It's wrong to cast aspersions on him. But it was clear in talking to Kam Chancellor, and he can give people the details when he wants to, because that's his personal business, and I'm not going to violate his trust. But he has okayed me to say he felt disrespected.
Sure.
And it was a challenge for him to walk back, to shove all of that aside just to get back to work. Individual pride, while unwise in its usage sometimes, ultimately has to be exercised from time to time to get others to raise up and recognize there's a certain way you just can't come at people. There's a certain way you just can't treat people. They're not having it, and it's not going to go down like that. So when you say what did Kam Chancellor accomplish, you're looking at it strictly from a football perspective. Initially, it was just about football. But what argument I am absolutely 1,000% sure he would make to you and anybody else who's listening is that it elevated to a point where it wasn't just about football anymore, which is why it wasn't just me on the phone with him. There were other folks too, including our very own Ray Lewis. And if Ray Lewis wants to talk about that, he's capable. He can do that himself. Ray Lewis was on the phone with this brother, talking on a much, much deeper level. I'll get a little bit personal with both of you if you don't mind. Skip will appreciate this story. You don't know about it. I had a similar situation to Kam Chancellor.
I know what this
at this very network.
Oh, okay.
You understand?
I thought you were going to go.
Now, don't get me wrong. Yeah. I'm not being negative here.
Yeah.
Because as much as I love the present regime, the previous regime that let me go, Skip, they weren't wrong. But I didn't know that at the time because I was caught up in my value, what I brought to the table, and how I felt I was being treated as opposed to appreciating the position that other folks within, the job that they had been assigned to do, and how they're supposed to go about doing it. When you are a novice in a particular category, you tend to personalize things from time to time, which I did, because you thought it was an indictment against you and your level of production when you thought it was at a level that warranted what you wanted. And it wasn't until you opened your eyes and really embraced business, understanding how it operates sometimes, that you recognize that those folks weren't at fault. They did what they needed to do in the best, in their minds, in the best interest of the whole, as opposed to an individual. Sometimes it takes what Kam Chancellor went through in order to him to fully appreciate it.
Okay,
but,
quick point of order. When you talk about your ESPN experience, you weren't having to, you didn't do what you did at the expense of a football team.
No, I didn't.
Just you.
No,
right?
I didn't. But at the same time, if you're a part of the team, you're a part of the team. If they're utilizing you in various ways, okay, and your attitude ain't right, then it's a detriment to the whole. You have to take into account the fact that all of those things matter. I can work with Skip Bayless, and no matter what I'm going through on no matter what I'm going through in a professional life, even though life is very, very good for me at this particular juncture in time, if I were going through something adversarial, I could still come on this show and do what I do every day, because from a personal level, I'm able to harken back to when I was going and who one of my top supporters were. It was Skip Bayless, sitting here fighting for me, wanting me to be here, wanting me to work with him every day and pounding the pavement and alienating some folks because he wanted me so badly. So what I'm saying to you is that, but sometimes you got to go through that before you know better. And Kam Chancellor hadn't gone through that before, so he didn't know better. So even now, though he's back, somebody had to educate him about, look, this is what it's costing not just the team, but you. And you have to put other things aside. And it took him a couple of weeks to get to that point. It's human, it's understandable, but ultimately he benefited from it most because he learned a very valuable lesson.
Can I interject one thing quickly with this comparison? So you leave, you come back, and you really show your value because you light it up here at ESPN, right?
Yes.
So Kam leaves, they lose 2 games. We're all kind of shocked, some people are. What impact? Now, if he comes back and they don't win, did he gain anything then on the field?
He would have.
If they win now, rest of the way, we see the difference.
He will have lost, but let's be clear.
But I'm saying for that comparison.
I'm just saying, you never know what the ultimate effect is going to be. You're betting on yourself.
Yeah.
Kam Chancellor is in the ultimate position to bet on himself because of who he has playing with
But
him.
if they go and light it up now, he definitely gained something.
That's right. And if they lose, then he didn't. But some people are willing to bet on themselves because they have that innate, ingrained belief in themselves. And when you have to, that's like if you're asking me to go up there by myself, I'm very confident. Please don't get me wrong. I'm going to bet on myself. But if you're telling me I'm rolling with Skip, my confidence is going to be a little bit higher.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because I believe in us, you know, just as much as I believe in me. So that's what's going on here. He didn't lose. It's just a matter of how much he's going to ultimately win. Because trust me, he ain't losing that money. They're going to give him money back for those 2 games.
I hope so. The flip side of your point, the downside to your point, and I hate to even raise this issue, but we all know this is a violent game that he plays. He had his knee issue going into the Super Bowl.
Right.
So he's also risking his future here unprotected for the rest of this year, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that concerns me a little bit, just a little bit. And then to your big picture point, are we saying that because of his pride, and as the Bible says, pride goeth before the 0-2 fall. If
Yes.
I put the 0-2 in there, but okay. But because of his pride, because he wanted to stand up to, if not punish, his management, didn't he do that at the expense of his teammates? That's all I'm asking.
You did it at the expense of your teammates if the end result isn't what you desired it to be. But we don't know that until it happens. You can't sit here at 0-2 with 14 games and say he did it at the expense of his teammates. Now, if you wait until you 0-5 or 0-6, you got a different argument. But 2 games into the season with 14 to go,
I'm with you.
Okay, you can't say he did that at the expense of his team.
The only thing you got going on your side of that argument is you now have Jimmy Clausen and the Detroit Lions coming to town. So you got a chance to at least right the ship initially. So I give you that point, but I still not exactly sure what got accomplished here.
You never know.
We'll find out.
You never know. But not only we'll find out the rest of this season, we'll find out in the off season whether or not a team is willing to revisit the similar situation again. Or do you trade them?
Maybe.
Maybe.
We shall see. Moving on, though, Patrick Kane is under investigation for sexual assault, but he's still playing in the NHL. Should he be? We'll get into that story on the other side.